Happy birthday, Susan! The room cheered as I cut into the cake, cameras flashing, champagne glasses lifted. I smiled for the sake of the crowd, but my eyes kept darting to the door. He was late. Again. Then it happened. The double doors swung open, and in walked my husband, Trevor, smiling like he was the star of the show, with a woman on his arm. She couldn't have been more than 25. Long legs, hair perfectly curled, lips glossed to perfection. But none of that made my stomach drop. What did was the sparkle on her chest. She was wearing my necklace. Not just any necklace. The diamond pendant my grandmother had left me. The one Trevor swore he'd had locked in the safe because it was too sentimental to risk losing. And here it was, dangling over the cleavage of his mistress while she strutted into my birthday party. The room froze. I swear I heard the collective gasp ripple through the crowd. My best friend's jaw literally dropped. His co-workers exchanged glances, whispering. My mother put a hand to her chest like she might faint. And Trevor? He just grinned, shameless, introducing her like it was nothing. "This is Jenna," he said loudly, his voice cutting through the awkward silence. "She insisted on coming tonight. Said she wouldn't forgive me if she missed it." A few people coughed into their glasses. Someone in the back muttered, "Oh my God." I couldn't breathe. My legs felt like stone. Then Jenna leaned into the mic the DJ had left on the podium. Her voice oozed fake sweetness. "I just want to say, Susan, you're so lucky. Trevor's been such a gentleman to me. I can only hope to find a love like yours someday." The cruelty was deliberate. Her eyes locked with mine as she toyed with the pendant between her fingers, making sure I saw. The whispers turned into open murmurs. Phones came out. This humiliation was about to be online in seconds. I snapped. I marched across the floor, heels striking against the polished wood, every step pounding with rage. People parted like I was a storm ripping through the room. I didn't hesitate. I ripped the necklace straight off her neck. The clasp snapped, her skin reddened, and she gasped. "This," I spat, holding it high, "was my grandmother's. He gave it to me, swore it was sacred, and now it's hanging on her like some trophy? At my birthday party?" Gasps. Someone shouted, "Holy shit!" Another, "No way!" Trevor's grin faltered. He reached out, stammering, "Susan, calm down, it's not—" My hand flew before I even thought. The slap echoed, sharp and unforgiving, across the entire hall. His head snapped to the side, a red print blooming on his cheek. Silence swallowed the room. Not even the DJ dared breathe. Jenna's smirk vanished, her face pale. She grabbed her clutch like she was ready to bolt, but I was already turning away. I didn't give him the satisfaction of a scene beyond that. I didn't scream, didn't beg. I looked him dead in the eye. My voice low but carrying enough for everyone to hear. "You just ruined your marriage in front of every person who matters in this city. And I promise you, Trevor, I will make sure this is only the beginning of your humiliation." I walked out, necklace clutched tight in my fist, the sound of whispers and camera shutters chasing me to the door. Behind me, the man I once loved stood frozen, exposed, and stripped of control. That was the night I vowed revenge. Not the petty kind. Not whispers behind closed doors. I was going to burn down his reputation, brick by brick, until there was nothing left of the man who thought he could parade his betrayal in my face. And as the cool night air hit me outside that glittering venue, I swear I smiled for the first time in months. People looked at me that night like I was crazy for walking out on him, but if they knew the full story, they'd know I'd been holding a crumbling marriage together with my bare hands for years. When I met Trevor, I was 22, fresh out of college with a degree in marketing and a job offer in Chicago. I gave it all up when he convinced me we could build a life together in Des Moines. He promised me stability, promised that once his business took off, I'd never have to worry. I believed him, because back then he had that kind of charm, the kind that made you forget your own plans. When our daughter was born, I let go of my career completely. I became the one who stayed up through fevers, packed lunches, volunteered for school trips. Meanwhile, Trevor built his company, networked at golf courses, and shook hands at cocktail hours. He liked to brag that we were a team, that he couldn't have succeeded without me keeping our home in order. But the truth was, my dreams went into storage so his could fit in the spotlight. The real sting? My grandmother left me an inheritance when she passed. Not millions, but enough to matter. Enough for a down payment on a house and seed money for the business Trevor wanted to start. He called it our investment, but everything was in his name. He swore it was just for paperwork, easier for taxes, cleaner for investors. I signed over checks with my heart wide open, never imagining I'd be funding the very empire he'd later use to parade another woman around. Looking back, the warning signs weren't just there. They were practically screaming at me. Late nights that turned into overnights at the office, sudden business trips that conveniently lined up with weekends. He'd come home smelling of cologne I didn't own. His phone started living face down on the counter, notifications silenced. I asked, of course I asked, and he always had an answer. A client dinner ran long. You're overthinking. You don't trust me? That last one was his favorite weapon, flipping my gut instincts into accusations. And I let him. I told myself I was being paranoid, that every marriage had rough patches, that his stress, his distance, his temper snapping like dry wood were just temporary. I clung to loyalty like it was a lifeline. I told myself it was my duty to keep this family together, to keep a father in my daughter's life. Because wasn't that what good wives did? But then came the day I couldn't explain it away. It was a Saturday morning, quiet, sunlight pouring through the kitchen window. My daughter, Lily, was scrolling on her phone at the table, half paying attention to her cereal. I was cleaning up when she blurted it out without looking up. Mom, Dad was at the mall yesterday. I saw him. But he wasn't alone. I froze, sponge dripping water onto the floor. What do you mean? She hesitated, eyes glued to the screen. He was with some woman. They were holding hands. She had really long nails, like bright red. And she was laughing at everything he said. They didn't see me, but her voice trailed off, nervous. Then, almost whispering, she was wearing your necklace. That necklace again. The one thing I thought he respected. The one thing I thought he couldn't taint. My stomach twisted into knots. Lily's honesty, the casual way she said it left no room for denial. My daughter had seen it with her own eyes. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash every dish in that kitchen. Instead, I held it in, forcing a smile so she wouldn't see me crumble. I kissed the top of her head, told her thank you, and excused myself to the bathroom, where I locked the door and slid to the floor. The tiles were cold under my skin, but my face was burning. Tears poured, but beneath the heartbreak was something sharper. A realization that this wasn't a mistake, not a one-time slip, not something I could fix with another second chance. It was betrayal. Deep, deliberate, undeniable. For years I'd told myself I was imagining things, making mountains out of molehills. But when your own daughter catches her father parading a mistress in public, you can't pretend anymore. You can't protect him. You can't excuse him. That was the moment my heartbreak hardened into clarity. I wasn't just a woman who'd been cheated on. I was a woman who'd been robbed of time, money, loyalty, dignity. And now, with my daughter's innocent words echoing in my head, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. This marriage was over, and Trevor had no idea the storm that was coming. The morning after my birthday party, I woke up with swollen eyes and a dry mouth. But I wasn't broken. Not anymore. I'd cried enough. Somewhere between replaying that slap in my head and staring at the necklace on my nightstand, a switch flipped. I wasn't going to sit around waiting for an apology that would never come. I wasn't going to give him the power to spin the story, to make me look crazy while he played the doting husband in public. No. From that moment on, I wasn't the victim. I was the strategist. The first thing I did was grab a pen and paper. I wrote down every account number I could think of: joint checking, savings, credit cards, the brokerage account he opened for the family. I had access to most of them, though over the years he'd shifted logins and passwords like a magician palming cards. But he underestimated me. I kept receipts, old emails, even the sticky notes he left lying around after logging in. I pieced it all together like a puzzle until I had enough. By noon that day, I was sitting in front of my laptop, fingers trembling but steadying with each click. Transfer, freeze, password reset. In less than an hour, I locked down every account that had my name on it. Half the money was mine anyway. Inheritance, marital assets, savings scraped together from the years I stayed home while he built his kingdom. If he thought he'd drain me dry to fund his mistress, he was dead wrong. Next came the lawyer. I didn't tell anyone, not even my best friend, because secrets are safest when they're yours alone. I Googled top divorce lawyer Des Moines, and her name came up again and again. A shark, according to the reviews. That's exactly what I needed. Hackenmiller? She asked when I called, her voice sharp but not unkind. I know that name. Your husband does real estate deals, doesn't he? Not for long, I said. She didn't laugh, but I could feel her smirk through the line. We scheduled a consultation for Monday morning. Just like that, the first brick of my revenge wall was laid. By afternoon, I turned to the house. I walked through every room like a soldier scouting the battlefield. Jewelry, documents, family heirlooms. I pulled them all into one locked trunk. I packed enough clothes for me and Lily to last weeks. I even went down to the basement, pulling out boxes he hadn't touched in years, stashing away anything that might later be contested in court. Every item I moved was a silent declaration. You don't own me, and you don't own what matters. But the most important step came at night. While he was working late, probably at her apartment, I sat at the kitchen table with his laptop. He wasn't careful. Arrogance makes men sloppy. I dug through emails, receipts, and calendars, screenshots of hotel bookings, dinner reservations under fake names, even photos. Her sitting on his lap, my necklace sparkling like a cruel joke. I saved everything to a hidden folder, then backed it up to a flash drive and my cloud account. Evidence. Hard, undeniable evidence. When I was done, I closed the laptop and looked around the kitchen I'd scrubbed 1,000 times after his late-night messes. For the first time, I didn't feel small in it. I felt powerful. The next morning, the first ripple hit. I was making coffee when my phone buzzed. A text from Trevor. Did you forget to pay the Amex? It just got declined at lunch. I didn't answer. 10 minutes later, another. Susan? What's going on? My debit card, too. Is the bank having issues? I smiled into my mug. By the time he stormed through the front door that evening, his face was red and his tie loosened like he'd been tugging at it all day. What the hell did you do? He barked, slamming his briefcase onto the counter. I didn't flinch. I protected myself. He blinked, stunned that I didn't even try to deny it. Protected yourself? Those are our accounts. I had a business lunch today, Susan. I looked like an idiot when my card got declined. Imagine how I looked last night. I shot back, stepping closer so he could smell the steel in my voice. Imagine how it felt watching some 25-year-old wear my grandmother's necklace at my birthday party while you smiled like a fool. If you think I'm funding that circus, you're out of your mind. His jaw tightened. For once, he didn't have a slick answer. Where's Lily? He muttered, changing the subject. She's at Mom's, I said, and she'll be staying there until this house is safe again. He dragged a hand down his face, exhaling hard. Jesus, Susan, you're overreacting. We can fix this. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Fix this? You paraded your mistress into my party. You put my necklace on her chest. You humiliated me in front of everyone we know. You don't come back from that. For the first time in years, he looked rattled. Truly rattled. Like he was realizing I wasn't bluffing. I turned away, pulling my trunk of valuables closer to the door. This is just the beginning, Trevor. You started this war, but I'm the one who's going to finish it. His voice cracked behind me, trying to regain control. You don't know what you're doing. But the truth was, I knew exactly what I was doing. And as I closed the door to the bedroom that night, locking it with him on the other side, I felt something I hadn't in years. Power. The first cracks showed faster than I expected. On Monday morning, Trevor strutted into his favorite coffee shop, the kind of place where he tipped big just to hear his name said loud. Except this time, his card declined. Twice. The barista gave him a look, half pity, half judgment, as people in line whispered. He ended up fishing for crumpled bills in his pocket like a teenager buying gas. That story reached me within the hour, thanks to one of his colleagues who'd been standing right behind him. "Nice power move," the text read, followed by 3 clapping emojis. By Tuesday, the mistress was feeling it too. I know because she tried to buy a designer bag on his dime, his company card, and it got flagged. She made a scene, accusing the cashier of embarrassing her, only to storm out empty-handed. Later, I found the charge attempt sitting in our joint statement. She was bold, I'll give her that, but boldness doesn't work when the pipeline is shut off. The social circle started buzzing. Friends who'd been at my birthday party split clean down the middle. Some called to check in, their voices dripping with sympathy that felt more like curiosity. Others stayed quiet, probably afraid of choosing the wrong side. But a handful of Trevor's colleagues, people who used to sing his praises, reached out privately. "He crossed a line," one said bluntly. "You deserve better." For the first time in years, I wasn't alone. My parents were furious when I finally told them. My mother cried, her voice trembling as she said, "I never liked the way he looked at himself in the mirror more than he looked at you." My father, usually the quiet type, muttered, "If I ever see him again, he'll regret it." It wasn't just comfort, it was backup. I felt their weight behind me, like pillars holding me steady. And Lily, my sweet girl, she knew more than I wanted her to, but she was old enough now to see through lies. When she hugged me that night, she whispered, "I'm glad you're not pretending anymore." That nearly broke me. Pretending had been my survival, but it had cost her the illusion of stability. Now, at least, she had the truth. Meanwhile, Trevor spiraled. He called nonstop, angry voicemails, pleading texts, desperate attempts to regain control. "You can't just shut me out, Susan. This is childish. Let's talk. We can work through this. Do you have any idea what people are saying? You're ruining me." Every message was another nail in his coffin. I didn't reply to a single one. By Thursday, he showed up at the house. I heard his car screech into the driveway, the slam of the door, heavy footsteps up the porch. He banged on the door like the world owed him an audience. "Susan, open this damn door." His voice carried across the street. Curtains in the neighbors' windows shifted. He hated nothing more than being watched when he wasn't in control. I opened the door just enough to let him see my face, calm and collected. "You should leave." His eyes were bloodshot, his tie loose, his hair a mess. He looked nothing like the man who had once polished his image to perfection. "We need to talk," he growled. "There's nothing left to say. You're making a mistake." "Do you know what you're doing to my business? To my reputation?" That was the moment I realized he still didn't get it. This wasn't about his business or his reputation. It was about me. About the years I gave up, the inheritance I trusted him with, the necklace he dangled on another woman's chest like a prize. I smiled, slow and deliberate. "I know exactly what I'm doing." His fists clenched at his sides, but he couldn't step in. Not anymore. My lawyer had already filed the paperwork, and he knew crossing that threshold could cost him dearly. He muttered something under his breath and stormed off, slamming the car door so hard it rattled the windows. I watched him drive away, gravel spitting under his tires, and felt nothing. No sadness, no regret. Just certainty. The ripples were spreading faster now. His polished image was cracking, the mistress was faltering, friends were watching, and family was rallying around me. Every step I'd taken was calculated, and it was working. And Trevor? He was drowning in the very waters he'd once thought he controlled. It was a Saturday night when I walked into the steakhouse. the one Trevor used to parade me through like I was part of his brand. I hadn't planned on crossing paths with him there, but fate has a cruel sense of humor. Or maybe it was opportunity. He was seated at a corner booth, back too straight, like he was trying to prove he still owned the room. Across from him sat Jenna, in a dress so tight it looked like it hurt to breathe. She wasn't smiling this time. She fiddled with her napkin, glancing around nervously as whispers followed them from table to table. Because by now, everyone knew. The necklace, the party, the cards declined. People talk in this city, loudly. I could have turned and left, but something in me decided to finish what he started. I walked straight to their table, my heels clicking like gunshots on the polished floor. Heads turned, forks froze midair. The restaurant buzzed with the anticipation of a show. Trevor's face drained of color the second he saw me. "Susan," he muttered, half standing. "This isn't—" I cut him off, loud enough for the entire room to hear. "Sit down." The command hung in the air. He sank back into his seat, jaw tight. Jenna looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. I leaned a hand on the booth, eyes flicking between them. So this is where the inheritance went. My grandmother's money, funding filet mignon for the girl who wore her necklace to my birthday party. Gasps rippled through the restaurant. A woman at the next table put her hand over her mouth. A man muttered, "Oh, damn," under his breath. Trevor tried to speak, but I didn't let him. "Do you want to know what the saddest part is?" I said, my voice steady, carrying. "It's not that you cheated. It's not even that you flaunted her like a prize in front of our friends and family. It's that you thought I'd be too weak, too loyal, too stupid to fight back." Murmurs broke out. Phones came up, recording. I didn't care. Let them film. Let the world see. Jenna whispered, "Trevor, let's just go." Her hand trembled as she reached for her purse. But I turned to her, my smile sharp enough to cut. "Sweetheart, if you think he's going to build you the life I built for him, you're in for a shock. Every meal, every bag, every trip, those were mine. Paid for with my sacrifice, my inheritance, my loyalty. You're not his future. You're his clearance sale." The entire room erupted, some laughing, some gasping, some shaking their heads in disbelief. Jenna's face went red, her lips trembling as she stood up too fast, nearly knocking over her wine. She mumbled something and fled, heels clattering across the floor. That left Trevor, alone at the booth, eyes darting around like a trapped animal. He tried to salvage it, raising his voice. "This is harassment. You don't know what you're talking about." I leaned closer, my voice calm but sharp as a blade. "I know exactly what I'm talking about, and so does everyone here." Then I straightened, looked around the restaurant, and delivered the line that would spread by morning. He didn't just cheat on me. He stole from me to feed his affair. Every steak he orders, every drink he buys, is with the money my grandmother left me. He isn't a man, he's a parasite. The place went silent for half a beat, then the whispers roared. Someone clapped. Another shouted, "Damn right!" Phones flashed brighter as people angled for better shots. Trevor's face burned crimson. He shoved back from the booth, fumbling with his wallet like he could pay his way out of humiliation. The waiter shook his head. "Sir, your card already declined." The words cut through the noise like a knife. That was it. The final shred of his dignity torn in front of half the city. I didn't wait for him to scramble. I turned, lifted my chin, and walked out with every eye on me, the echo of my words still bouncing off the walls. By the time I reached the street, my phone was already buzzing with notifications. Texts, screenshots, tags. The video was up. My mic drop was already viral. And Trevor? He was left sitting in that booth, exposed, broke, and bleeding reputation in real time. By the time the steakhouse video hit 10,000 views, Trevor was already in full-blown panic mode. He called, texted, emailed, every hour on the hour. When I didn't answer, he took his desperation public. On Monday morning, I opened my phone to see his carefully staged apology video plastered across social media. He sat in his office, framed by bookshelves stacked with trophies and real estate awards. His tie was perfectly knotted, his expression somber, voice lowered as if he were confessing his sins to a priest. To all my friends, clients, and the community I've served for over a decade, he began, I want to clarify a few things. Yes, my wife and I are going through a difficult time. Yes, there have been misunderstandings. But I assure you, the rumors being spread online are exaggerated. I would never steal from my family. My accounts have been misrepresented, and the woman in question is simply a colleague who has been unfairly dragged into this circus. I almost laughed. Colleague. That colleague had worn my grandmother's necklace to my birthday party, toasted to my humiliation, and paraded through town on his arm. But the part that really made my blood boil was the ending. He clasped his hands together, staring into the camera like a martyr. I ask for privacy and respect as my family, and I navigate these challenges. Please don't believe everything you see online. Remember, there are always two sides to every story. The comments were a battlefield. His business partners and sycophants scrambled to defend him. Trevor is a good man. People make mistakes. But for every defender, there were 5 more voices calling him out. We were at the restaurant. He's lying. I saw him with that girl weeks ago. 2 sides to every story? How about the video we all saw? By noon, local blogs picked it up. Real estate mogul denies affair despite viral footage. The headline was slick, but the undertone was clear. His empire was wobbling, and I hadn't even started yet. That afternoon, I met with my lawyer and slid a flash drive across her desk. On it were months of screenshots, emails, and financial statements. Dinner reservations under fake names. Receipts from hotel suites billed to company credit cards. And the crown jewel, a set of photos showing him and Jenna at a lake house he'd secretly rented, one of them kissing, her hand proudly flashing the necklace he swore was locked away. My lawyer's lips curled into a slow, satisfied smile. Once this gets out, he won't just lose his reputation. He'll lose his business. Clients don't forgive men who lie about their money. We didn't release everything at once. That would have been mercy. Instead, we dripped it out. 1 receipt, 1 screenshot, 1 video at a time. The first leak was a string of texts between Trevor and Jenna, where he whined about me being too boring and bragged about using her grandma's cash to keep us comfortable. That one went straight to a gossip page that thrived on local scandals. Within hours, it was reposted everywhere. The second leak, 2 days later, was the receipt from a 5-star hotel suite, charged to his company card. The same night he'd told me he was in Chicago on business. The third was the photo. Him and Jenna, locked in a kiss, my necklace sparkling like a neon sign for betrayal. That one broke the dam. The internet doesn't forgive, and it definitely doesn't forget. Screenshots spread across Facebook groups, neighborhood chats, even LinkedIn. A hashtag started trending, #necklacegate. By the weekend, memes were flying. Trevor's smug face photoshopped onto parasites, leeches, and rats. And Jenna, she cracked. At first, she tried to ride the wave. She posted a pouty selfie with the caption, "Haters gonna hate, love always wins." It backfired spectacularly. The comments ripped her apart. "Love, you wore his wife's necklace. You're a homewrecker, not a hero. Hope that bag you wanted was worth it." Her followers tanked. Brands that used to send her free products suddenly unfollowed. She deleted her account within 48 hours. By Friday, Trevor was dining alone. Meanwhile, I stayed silent. That was the beauty of it. I didn't have to say a word. The receipts spoke for themselves, and every silence from me made him look guiltier. The more he tried to protest, the worse he sounded. He went on local radio, voice sharp with frustration. "Look, these things being leaked, they're taken out of context. I didn't misuse funds. I didn't betray anyone. My wife is being manipulated." The host cut him off. "Trevor, the receipts show your name. The dates line up. Context doesn't change the facts." Dead air. Then stammering. Then the interview ended early. That clip went viral too. A 10-second video of him sitting there, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The caption? When you run out of lies, mid-interview. By Sunday, his phone number leaked, and he was forced to deactivate. Clients pulled out of deals. One of his business partners publicly announced they were reviewing the company's financial integrity. Translation: they were cutting him loose before he tanked them too. And through it all, I was calm, detached, watching his empire collapse from the quiet safety of my living room, while Lily and I painted our nails and ordered takeout. Because here's the truth about men like Trevor. They believe their image is bulletproof. They think charm and money can patch any hole. But once the world sees the rot underneath, no polish can hide it. The final blow came from someone I never expected. His own brother. On Facebook, he posted a single line. "I told you years ago, Trevor. You don't steal from family and expect to survive it." That post was shared over 2,000 times. His own blood disowned him in public, and that sealed it. By the end of the month, he was radioactive. The Mistress was gone. His reputation shredded. And every attempt to claw back his narrative only drove him deeper into humiliation. And me? I didn't need to raise my voice. My silence was louder than every excuse he tried to make. By the time we stepped into the courtroom, the air around Trevor had already turned toxic. The gallery buzzed with spectators, clients, colleagues, even curious strangers who wanted a front-row seat to the downfall they'd been watching online for weeks. ##NecklaceGate wasn't just gossip anymore. It had teeth. I sat tall beside my lawyer, calm and deliberate in a navy dress that projected strength without needing flash. Trevor walked in with his attorney and a stack of papers clutched under his arm like a life raft. He looked gaunt, his tan faded, his tailored suit hanging loose at the shoulders. His eyes darted to me once, then away, like even looking at me was a reminder of how far he'd fallen. The judge called us to order. Custody, assets, finances. It was all on the table. My lawyer wasted no time laying out the receipts. Every screenshot, every bank record, every late-night charge that proved Trevor had siphoned my inheritance and our joint assets to fund his affair. "Your Honor," she said firmly, projecting her voice across the courtroom. "This isn't simply a matter of infidelity. This is theft, misrepresentation, and deliberate financial mismanagement. My client trusted her husband with her inheritance, and he funneled it into a relationship outside the marriage. We have documentation proving misuse of joint accounts and company funds." The judge raised an eyebrow as the evidence projected on the screen. A 5-star hotel receipt dated the same night Trevor had sworn he was on a business trip in Chicago. A jewelry purchase logged on his company card, delivered to Jenna's address. Screenshots of texts bragging about burning Susan's money on someone who actually appreciates me. Trevor's attorney tried to object, muttering about context, but the judge cut him off. "The context is clear. Sit down, counselor." For once, Trevor had no words. His face burned as people in the gallery whispered, some chuckling under their breath. Custody came next. My lawyer painted the picture. Me as the stable, present parent, the one who raised Lily while Trevor chased deals and mistresses. She presented testimonies from teachers, neighbors, even Lily's soccer coach, all confirming that Trevor was absent at best, reckless at worst. When it was my turn to speak, I kept it simple. "Your Honor, my daughter needs stability. She needs a parent who puts her first. I've done that every day of her life. Trevor can't even keep his promises to his family, let alone a child who deserves better." Trevor finally snapped, his voice sharp. "That's not true! I love my daughter!" The judge's gavel hit the block. "Sit down, Mr. Hackenmiller." The silence that followed was louder than his outburst. By the end of the hearing, the ruling was clear. I secured primary custody. Trevor would get supervised visitation. Supervised. His finances were under review. Assets frozen until a forensic accountant untangled the mess of personal and company spending. And every heirloom, every piece of property purchased with my inheritance, was rightfully returned to me. Walking out of that courtroom, I didn't just feel like I'd won. I felt like I'd taken back everything he thought he'd stolen. But the fallout didn't end there. His father, once his biggest supporter, had been silent throughout the scandal. Until the day after the ruling, when a letter appeared online, signed and notarized, cutting Trevor off from the family trust. "Our name carries weight," it read. "And Trevor has dragged it through the mud. Effective immediately, he is removed as a beneficiary of Hackenmiller Holdings." The business world moved just as fast. His partners held an emergency meeting and voted to remove him from the board of his own company. The statement was brutal in its simplicity. "We cannot conduct business with a man whose personal actions have compromised professional integrity." Translation: he was poison, and they weren't about to go down with him. Jenna, his precious mistress, tried to hang on a little longer. She posted cryptic quotes about loyalty and staying strong through storms, but her storm drowned her within days. With no access to his cards, no more company-funded trips, she was reduced to begging him online to stand up for us. Screenshots of her messages leaked too. They showed her demanding he buy her an apartment, threatening to leave if he didn't. The internet tore her apart, calling her delusional, a gold digger who bet on the wrong horse. Within a week, she vanished. Accounts deleted, no forwarding address. She left him exactly the way he'd left me, exposed, abandoned, and emptied out. By then, Trevor's world had collapsed into rubble. His phone went unanswered, his office door locked, his face plastered across memes as the city's favorite cautionary tale. Former friends avoided him in public. Even his gym revoked his membership after a video circulated of him screaming at a trainer who joked, "Careful, don't charge that to your wife's account." And me? I stood taller with every headline, every whisper, every message of support. Not because I needed the validation, but because I had survived the storm he created and walked out unscathed while he drowned in it. The man who once strutted through town like he owned it was reduced to couch surfing at a cousin's apartment, begging for money, begging for forgiveness, begging for relevance. No one answered. He was broke. He was isolated. He was powerless. And for the first time in years, I was free. I agreed to meet him one last time, not because I owed him anything, but because I wanted him to see what he'd lost. We sat across from each other in a nearly empty cafe, the kind of neutral ground my lawyer insisted on. The rain streaked the windows, tapping a rhythm that filled the silence between us. Trevor looked nothing like the man who once strutted through rooms like he owned them. His suit was wrinkled, tie missing, hair flat against his forehead. The lines around his mouth had deepened, and the confidence that used to pour off him like cologne was gone. He stared at his hands for a long time before finally looking at me. "Susan, I made mistakes. I know that. But everything's falling apart, and I can't do this without you." His voice cracked, soft and raw. "You were always the strong one. Please, just give me another chance." I let the words hang in the air, sipping my coffee slowly. For years, I'd begged him for honesty, for respect, for scraps of loyalty. Now here he was, begging me. The irony was almost sweet. "You want another chance?" I said, my voice steady. "Tell me, Trevor, what exactly would I be giving another chance to? The lies? The betrayal? Watching you steal my grandmother's money to wine and dine a mistress half my age?" He flinched like I'd struck him. "It wasn't like that. I lost control. But it meant nothing, Susan. She meant nothing." "Funny," I said, tilting my head. "She seemed to mean a lot when she was wearing my necklace at my birthday party." He shut his eyes, shaking his head, but I didn't stop. "You didn't just cheat on me, Trevor. You mocked me. You paraded your betrayal in front of everyone we know, and then you expected me to swallow it. And when I didn't, when I finally fought back, you collapsed like the coward you are." His eyes watered, and for a moment I saw the boyish charm that once hooked me, the man I thought he was. But it was gone as quickly as it came. "I've lost everything," he whispered. My business, my family, even Jenna's gone. I don't have anyone left. That's not my problem, I said flatly. He reached across the table, but I pulled my hand back before his fingers could touch me. His desperation stank more than his cologne ever had. I can change, he pleaded. We can rebuild. People forgive, Susan. They'll believe in us again if we show them. I laughed, short and bitter. People don't forgive what you did, and I don't either. You keep talking about rebuilding, but there's nothing left to build with. You burned it all down yourself. His mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. The rain pounded harder against the glass, like punctuation to the silence that settled between us. I leaned forward, locking eyes with him, and said the words I knew would haunt him longer than any courtroom ruling or viral headline. You're the architect of your own destruction. The color drained from his face. He sagged back into his chair, broken in a way I'd never seen. For once, there was no performance, no swagger, no excuses. Just a man staring at the ruins he built with his own hands. I stood, gathering my coat, sliding my chair back with deliberate calm. Goodbye, Trevor. And then I walked out, heels clicking on the tiled floor, the sound echoing like a final verdict. I didn't look back. Not once. Because the power was mine now, and he knew it. Outside, the rain washed the streets clean, and with every step I took away from that cafe, I felt lighter, freer. Like I had finally closed the book on a chapter that never deserved me in the first place. It's been a year since that rainy afternoon in the cafe, and my life doesn't even resemble the one I left behind. Lily is thriving. She's more confident now, sharper, stronger. She saw me stand up after years of silence, and it changed the way she carries herself. She speaks her mind without hesitation, and when I watch her, I know the cycle is broken. She'll never mistake loyalty for weakness because she's seen what resilience looks like. As for me, I rebuilt from the ground up. I dusted off my degree, re-entered the workforce, and carved a space for myself in a marketing firm where my ideas actually matter. The same skills I once used to build Trevor's image, I now use to build my own career. I've got my own accounts, my own savings, my own freedom. My name is on everything I own, and I sleep easier knowing no one can take that from me again. The house is different too, brighter. No secrets hiding behind locked doors. No tension crawling through the walls. Friends visit often. Laughter fills the kitchen, and every corner feels alive again. I'm not haunted anymore. I'm free. And Trevor? He's nothing. A shadow. A rumor whispered now and then in grocery store aisles or on neighborhood Facebook pages. People say he's renting a small apartment outside the city, scrambling with odd jobs, trying to convince anyone who will listen that he's been wronged. But no one listens anymore. His name doesn't hold weight. His stories don't land. He's irrelevant, and that's worse for him than poverty. Sometimes I think about that necklace, the one that started it all. I keep it locked away now, not because I'm afraid, but because it reminds me of something important. Betrayal was the door I never wanted to open, but once I walked through it, I found freedom waiting on the other side. Revenge wasn't about destroying him, it was about reclaiming myself. He built his own ruin, brick by brick, but I built my rebirth from the ashes. And this time, I built it for me. Thank you so much for watching my story. If it resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever gone through something similar? Or do you know someone who has? Share your experience down in the comments, because your voice matters here.